Hi, my name is Kendall Beaver. I'm a ninth grader attending River Valley High School. My project is on what type of mask will protect us from a droplet-transmitted disease. My statement problem. I wanted to find a mask that will protect people who work in the medical field like my parents, as well as people, if they get a disease, then they can harm themselves. So finding the correct mask can protect others as well as ourselves. My project overview. For my project, I did 5 trials of spraying paint into 6 different grades of mask. The paint represents a droplet disease coming through a mask. I sprayed each mask for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and 15 seconds. I then measured how much came through and how much was released in each mask. My research. I researched how the masks were rated, as well as their level. I also researched the different types of materials used in the mask. So for example, the pink mask, also known as a dust mask, is woven, making few openings for diseases to go through. So the smaller particles and the larger particles make it hard to go through them because of the woven in smaller areas. I also researched the difference between a droplet transmitted disease and an airborne transmitted disease. So the droplet disease is heavier, making it drop before it goes too far. An airborne disease is a smaller particle, making it go farther into the air and lasting longer. My variables. My independent variable is the type of mask I used. My dependent variable is how much paint was released from the mask and also how much was caught from each mask. My controlled variable is the time I sprayed the masks and the same paint I used. My hypothesis. If I spray paint into masks, spraying the paint as close as the nose is when wearing the mask, then the mask that contains the most paint and releases the least amount of paint is considered the most protective mask. I predicted that the N95 mask would release the least amount of paint out of all the other masks. My materials. For my project, I used red spray paint, cardboard, marker, clamps, a measuring guide, paper towels, a dust mask, a surgical mask, an N95 mask, a bandana, a soft stretch mask, and a reusable dust mask. My procedure. I got 6 different types of masks, cardboard, a measure guide, and some spray paint. I then clipped one mask onto the cardboard and sprayed the inside of the mask as far away as your nose would be in the mask for 5 seconds. I then got the same type of mask and did it for 10 seconds, and then 15 seconds. I then measured how much came through and how much was released. I then did this with the 5 other masks and repeated the process 5 more times. These are some pictures of my experiment. This is 5 seconds of exposure, 10 seconds of exposure, and 15 seconds. As you see, this is a reusable dust mask shown right here. Observations. In my experiment, it provided me the knowledge to identify what mask will not release a droplet transmitted disease as much as others would. It goes to show that masks cannot fully protect us, but it can slow down the process and exposure of the diseases. For example, the pink mask and the black mask, a dust mask and a reusable dust mask, was the most protective because they had the least amount come through. This is some of my charts. This one is for 5 seconds. As you see, the dust mask released the least amount and also caught the same amount as the N95. The pattern continues throughout the whole, for the 10 seconds and the 15 seconds, just increasing by about 50 each time. In conclusion, I discovered that masks cannot fully protect us from exposure or diseases, but they can slow down the exposure of diseases. I tested 6 masks and they all had paint come through. So the paint representing a disease, meaning that the disease can still come through. However, the dust mask and the reusable dust mask had the least amount come through, making them the most protected. making my hypothesis that the N95 would be the most protective mask wrong. This is my bibliography. And this is my bibliography.
Now we have a couple questions. What interests you about this topic, and where did you get the idea for your project?
I got the idea from my parents. The thing that interests me so much is because currently we have to wear masks because of disease. And I want to know which one would protect me the most, as well as other people who work in the medical field, like I explained earlier, my parents. And I just wanted to know, like, what kind of mask would actually protect us the most. So.
What question are you trying to answer with this project, and how did you go about answering it?
The question I'm trying to answer is, what kind of mask would protect us? Because that's probably the most question that we're kind of getting right now. But the way I answered it was actually experimenting and showing what mask is protecting us through paint. As you can see, this one still had not paint come through, but it protected more than the N95 mask would. See? So this one had caught a lot, but released few. This one released some and caught some. But this one, as you could tell, released fewer amounts of particles, also known as diseases.
What did you learn about the science behind your project before and during the experiment?
I learned about airborne diseases and droplet diseases. I learned the difference between them. Like I was stating earlier, a droplet disease drops because it's heavier, and an airborne disease stays in the air because it's smaller. And the science behind it is the CDC tells us this.
If you had to do it again, what would you change? What improvements would you make?
The thing I would change is probably adding more masks, more variations of the mask, and what was the other one?
If you had to do it again, what would you change? What improvements would you make?
And the other improvements I would is trying to find the correct gear, like finding the right measuring tools to measure that diameter and how much would actually came through. Maybe weighing it on a gram thing, a scale. But that's how I would go on improving it.
What's next? Continue the project? Go on a different topic? Which one are you going to go with?
I would like to continue this project because I would like to get better gear to improve the accuracy of the project, as well as getting various numbers and various types of masks, so then I can truly find out which mask protects us the most.